most developing economies, most especially in Africa, the odds of sliding into a downturn are gradually expected as the global COVID-19 pandemic puts severe pressure on the economy.
Very well said. For instance, in Nigeria, the already challenged manufacturing sector is grappling with disruptions to their businesses due to the COVID-19 outbreak, with many anticipating financial and operational consequences, which are happening already.
Well, for operators in the food, beverage, and tobacco industry, chemical and pharmaceutical products, among others, the lockdown presents an opportunity to expand local market reach. After the border closure last year, August limited their export capacities.
Well, in their forecast, the World Bank says the region's economy will contract between 2.1% and 5.1% from growth of 2.4% last year, and that the COVID-19 pandemic will cost sub-Saharan Africa between $37 billion and $79 billion in output losses. This, the bank says, is due to trade and value chain disruption, among other factors.
Wow, which is happening already. COVID-19 has led to the suspension of international passenger travel in many countries on the continent and hit the sectors such as tourism. And the World Bank and International Monetary Fund, IMF, are racing to provide emergency funds to African countries and others to mitigate its impact. So joining us now is Professor Ben Oghojafor, Deputy Vice-Chancellor, Management Services, University of Lagos. It's a pleasure having you, Professor Oghojafor, to talk to us about this. Professor, it's a time a lot of people didn't predict or didn't even prepare for. We didn't see this coming, but it's now there. Sub-Saharan Africa, despite the level of poverty already, will get hit even more. South Africa is spending about 10% of its GDP on palliative and shoring up the economy. How can we get out of these times? Professor.
Good morning.
Morning.
We have to find a way to look inward to solve the pandemic problem that is you could not have even envisaged in your planning. When we do scenario analysis in strategy planning, we don't include things like pandemic coming into play. So that the fact that we are already in it, we have to find a way to solve the problem. And solving the problem is for Nigeria to look inward. To look inward has its own peculiar challenges. You find out that you can have a factory, your cost of production is very high. Many industries have moved out of Nigeria to manufacture outside Nigeria. We are the largest consuming nation within our own sub-region, but nothing is being produced here. You talk about toothpick, talk about able pencil for education, there's nothing produced. So what the Chinese did in their own case, I'm not encouraging that we should go the China way. We have the human beings, human capital, who can do better in terms of looking inward. That our various sectors have to be inward looking to provide employment opportunity and generate the GDP you refer to. We cannot, by going to import things every now and then and help the economy to grow. The economy is being crippled by the inactions of those who are in government.
Well, indeed, and as economies try to balance the act of saving lives and saving the economy, livelihoods, whatever you want to call it, some say, some sectors will find it most difficult to readjust due to physical distancing measures that must be put in place as COVID-19 has changed the way of lives. Sectors such as aviation, such as tourism, would you suggest or would you agree to those who say government should bail out such sectors? Do you agree to that?
I will not agree to any bailouts coming to anyone.
Why is that so?
The reason is not far-fetched. My sitting in this studio this moment is a risk I'm taking. The equipment you use here can explode. And once it explodes, my life is gone. So if you go into business, either you succeed or you fail. And there are challenges in business that you must also confront with. These challenges are not insurmountable. The bailout structure happens in advanced economy, where there are structure and system that can guarantee that process. I cannot go to the market to buy things on credit, hoping to pay later. But in advanced economy, if you desire to buy something, you don't have the money, you take your credit card and you get the thing you want to get. But here is pay as you go for every item. The tourism is suffering. Other sectors are suffering. Our economy is largely subsistence. The individuals who go to the market Monday to Sunday, they try to buy and sell to feed their family, to educate their family, to assist their family members in the extended family system. So if you come and say you bail out the hotel industry or tourism industry, how was the marginal contribution of tourism industry to our GDP in this country? That if you have not bailed them out and the economy will be shut down, I don't agree with that.
Do you have the same, I'm curious to know if you have the same conviction for the manufacturing sector. And I say this coming off of a recent meeting that the central bank governor did have with about 1,000 stakeholders in this industry to make sure that they keep the small and medium businesses afloat and that sector afloat as well. And if you look at it, this is a sector that gives about 60 million Nigerians jobs. We're talking about the laymen on the streets. So are you saying that that $1 trillion ballot package, $1 million package should not have been done?
Well, I don't have problem with government trying to spend its resources that way. If you were saying they are manufacturing, please give me 20 items that you are manufacturing in this country, that you know that the supply chain has ripple effect or multiply effect on other sectors of the economy. Because if you want to produce a particular product, there are several other people that will be involved, whose output will be your input.
Correct.
And subsequently, that is the way it goes. So if government say that, well, they have some industry that produce and or manufacture, and they want to bail them out, they should bail them out with certain conditionalities, so that it's not just giving money to people who have already deprived the ordinary Nigeria means of livelihood, and by extension, increasing the poverty situation that they are facing.
All right, Prof, I cringe when I hear arguments here and there for and against this bailout. You know why I cringe? The job stats came out recently, close to 30%. But what I have always talked about when the job stat came out is not the unemployment rate. It's even the underemployment rate that's about 23, 24%. That is even more, dire than the unemployment rate. Because when you juxtapose underemployment and unemployment rates, you're getting close to 50%. And some people that have jobs in the hotel, tourism business or entertainment business, how do we cater to them? Because if you are saying, oh, there's no point to bail out because the economy is not structured like the West, then invariably you are saying these people can go and stew in their juices without jobs. Ordinary a 2-week lockdown, we saw the anarchy that broke down. Make me not cringe with your arguments.
The economy of Nigeria has always been like this. You will recall, in the 80s, there was a military president who said, inter alia, that if what they have done to this economy had been done to other economy, the economy will have crashed. Nigeria economy defies all the theoretical framework they are going to put up. The hotel industry or tourism industry are talking about, what is the percentage of people they employ there? If you really have the statistics of unemployment and underemployment in Nigeria, I don't think it's 50%. It's far more than 50%. A man who read engineering, ending up being a security man somewhere, that's not what he's trained to be. We need to have a value orientation of our people in terms of the educational acquisition or skill acquisition, not the way we are planning them. This country is known for doing wrong thing at the right time. When you talk about mass transit, the same problem. You buy a bus of 14-seater, I say mass transit. That's an abuse. The word mass does not include that. So if you are going to marry this process of employment and unemployment, people need their value to change, not necessarily only the tourism industry. Tourism industry is very attractive, a lot of people will be coming. Take, for instance, I come to visit you in Nigeria from abroad. Where and where will you take me to as a tourism site that security is guaranteed, where you have tour guides? When you travel, you see, it's an industry that has a supply chain where from your arrival, the way you are received, to when you are going to visit various sites, historical sites or whatever, people are tutored to know how to present those things to you, that you feel, you have the feeling that you have been to a place. Where do you have it here? You are talking about just only one sector. The people who are living on daily paid basis, market women, traders, farmers, their population is more than the population of the people you are referring to. Yes.
Professor Oghojafor, that was just an example, as I cited as well, aviation. I said those sectors that would be hindered to readjust quickly by physical distancing measures, which we have to put in place because of COVID. And I said aviation and tourism and others like it. But let's move ahead. People are talking about this economic global contraction, but paint a picture for us. How badly is it for that Nigerian who now falls within that 40% poverty ratio, as we have been told by the recent statistics? That's one. And secondly, I would like to ask you, because the Nigerian government, we see in recent times, has been talking about loan deferment, outright debt cancellation, or debt relief. How effective would these be for the Nigerian economy at a time like this?
We have to reflate the economy by any process we can. If people who have taken jumbo loan compromise with the banks, who are also participants in that process, you want to give them debt relief or cancellation. For every action, there's a reaction. Action and reactions are equal and opposite. That's the principle in physics, but not in real life. Those people who took loan can get some palliative, but not you write it off. Because if you write it off, these situations will occur again. You cannot predict. This is not the first time COVID came. You have had several COVID in the past. Maybe they affect Nigeria as much. But now that those who have borrowed money, they have to pay the money, they can get extension for the tenure. They can get some relief to ensure that the staff working with them are fed because they earn their income from that process. But a cancellation, I would not advocate that.
We can't talk about...
The second part of the question, where I asked you about just how bad this truly is for an average Nigerian who falls within that category of 40% of poor Nigerians. How bad is it?
It's very bad. Very, very bad. That's the point I'm making to you. The people you are referring to, you stayed in the studio here. You don't know how many text messages we get daily from friends, from family members asking for COVID-19 relief. They cannot feed their family. The artisans, the mechanics, all of them, they can't feed their family. Even family members who is the organizer, he can't feed himself because nobody was driving car for the 2 weeks period. So when you say you lock down, it's a borrowed concept. A workable lockdown could have been worked out. Like in Lagos State, you said you will put the market for some hours so people can go and buy their foodstuff, people can go and sell their wares. That is more practicable. Social distancing, if this COVID-19, God forbid, is not meant for Nigeria. If it's meant for Nigeria, how do you do social distancing when a family, a man and a wife, has about 8 children? A living in one-room apartment or a living room and a bedroom in Mushi, Bariga, Kukumaiko, Agege, and Oshodi, all the likes. How do you socially distance yourself from those people? It's only when you restrict movement that those people can actually if anybody is sick there, they can manage themselves. But when they go out and come back, they can't socially distance themselves from one another. So it's affecting, in fact, it's not 40%, more than 40% that are suffering because of this lockdown.
I mean, we can't talk about the Nigerian economy and not talk about the oil and gas sector. And we were talking about that about earlier guests. I mean, we do know that it contributes about 60% of our annual budgetary income. And the federal government, in its way to try and curb this, has started to cut about 320 billion of the 2020 budget. Now, my question to you is, how do we minimize this exposure? How do we, I need to ask you the long-age question, how do we diversify the economy? How do we change this? How do we get a silver lining from the COVID-19 pandemic?
Well, every situation gives you opportunity and threats in life. Every situation. The COVID-19 has its own disadvantages and advantages. This COVID-19 should give Nigeria the opportunity to diversify its economy, not paying lip service as it has done in the past. You have seen it happening. You see me here today for the first time. If my economy is bad, I need a tailor to readjust my dresses if I cannot make new ones. If we have budgeted high rate of petrodollar income, and we have seen that it's cheaper than anything else, we are even begging people to come and pick the product. So you scale down your budget. And when you scale down your budget, then you do other structural adjustment, not the one of 1986 that was done September 20-something in 1986 that led us to where we are. The first people who should adjust to the economic situation, the reality today, should be the political office holders who earn jobo pays, right away for the president, cascading down to whatever level. And it's going to happen. The government cannot sustain the payment of salary to its staff anymore with this downward trend of dollar price of petrol. Now, you are now entitled. Just look at what Femi Adesina did when he was minister in Nigeria before going to EDB. He encouraged diversification in agriculture. We can produce rice that we can eat. We were told many years ago that rice cannot be grown in all parts of Nigeria. That's a fallacy. That was intended to deceive us. Rice can be grown everywhere in Nigeria, depending on the species of rice you want to grow. And in diversified economy, rice can become products that we can export. You can go on even production. At a time, there was a former Naval Chief of Staff, Admiral Murtala Yako, had a big farmland in his state, Adamawa or Taraba, and they were exporting the fruits abroad. We can live on such fruits exportation alone if we're managed. Not going to say because the dollar comes, so people spend money, they don't care whatever the consequences will be, finish the economy, and they don't care. No, we must move forward by diversification, by structural adjustment of all the things we'll be doing. The ministries and whatever we're having that are omnibus can be made. Save costs. You have to save costs.
Okay. Thank you so much, Prof, for that. I'll just have like a double whammy. You've said a lot. You talked about what Akinwumi Adesina did when he was in agriculture. But a lot of people argue with you that you can juxtapose Nigeria with a country like Malaysia. Malaysia didn't become an economic power today because of agri-export alone. You still need to make those products that you can sell on the market, like television, like phones, like high-value products. So when are we going to start thinking of that? Because Malaysia had a lot of palm oil from Nigeria, but Malaysia didn't become rich from palm oil. It's just an addendum. So agriculture should be seen as an addendum. Secondly, we've been talking about the foreign body should give us a debt relief. President Cyril Ramaphosa called for it. Ngozi Okonjo-Iweala has called for it. Do you believe that that's the way to go, at least to ease the burden of Africa first at this point in time? And third, just speak quickly on the Orosanye report, because you say, let's cut government spending. The Orosanye report is the Bible for doing that.
Well, if your father gives you an advice in the morning and you don't accept it, when you get to the afternoon, you are experiencing some things. By the evening time, you must accept. I've read through recent reports, the abridged form. I feel it's something that government should use to address the current situation. I'm very delighted. You gave example of Malaysia. But you people have not even looked at the models that Malaysia practiced. Malaysia practiced a different model. We were producing palm oil from Nigeria. They took our trees and went there. That's not the only thing they use. Take, for instance, President A was ill. He went abroad, received treatment for months, and he died. That president should have used that opportunity, like it's done in Malaysia and Indonesia, to create a world standard hospital that will be referral to cure that sickness that killed him. Under president was ill, went abroad. The same sickness would have been brought here because we have the human capital resources to deal with the situation. We want to produce today, we can produce anything, but please, when you are asking somebody to produce something, you must provide for its well-being. There used to be one man of blessed memory and respect, Professor Ayodele Awojobi, tried to produce a vehicle or manufacture a vehicle from lab in University of Lagos. That was in the 80s, early 80s. Took the National Assembly when it used to be in Lagos by TBS. If such a person's brain was stabbed, all you need to do with such a person, quarantine him, give him all that required for security of his children, training, housing, everything. Let it do the research and come out with a byproduct. Of course, you know, the vehicles that we are even driving, it's not a monopoly of any country or geographical location. It is concept part that are assembled that we are using. So we can ask for debt relief. The debt relief you are asking for, to me, you've forgotten that there was upon a time a man called Alhaji Moshood Hashimao Abiola was asking for repatriation of African wealth. In asking for that, there were consequences for his action. His life went for it. Who said with Nigeria is owing any country, or Africa is owing any country? When they give you jumbo loan, what percentage comes to your country? They provide you the human capital. They ask you to buy the equipment for their country. You have no control over bidding of the cost of the equipment you are buying. All they are just doing is that they are coming to give you a loan. They're taking about 60% and sending 40%. And they say you are owing them. Meanwhile, the 40% is not enough to take up the project. Debt cancellation must come. If it doesn't come, the advanced world will suffer it too. Because everything you do to your hand where you are eating amala, you eat amala with your hand. If your second hand does not wash it, the amala will remain in one hand as you are going away. So, debt cancellation is sine qua non for the economy revitalization.
And that's a good place to leave it, Professor Ben.